welcome. My name is Kelly Anderson, and this is Fanimated, the animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. This week, I'm joined by Josh Palmer to discuss the 2009 Sony Pictures film, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Just a quick reminder that you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Fanimated Podcast to stay up to date with all the latest podcast news. It looks like there's a high chance of spoilers ahead, so let's get started and let's get animated. Hey Josh, how's it going?
Hi Kelly, it's going great. How are you?
I am doing so well because I'm here in Minnesota recording this with you.
Yay! It's so good to be with you again, Kelly. I just really missed you. It's been a while since we've gotten to hang out. So
I know, and it's such a long time since we've recorded anything.
Yes.
So very excited about this. We're talking about Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Sony Pictures Animation 2009 film.
Yes, 2009. Let's see, that was like 10 years ago now, so I was 15 when this came out, which is weird to think about because I remember when I first watched it being like, Flint, oh yeah, that's me right now, which is not at all accurate, but I remember feeling that way, because I think he has that feel to him. Anyway.
Oh yeah, he's very likable, and you relate with him. Everyone's kind of been in that feeling of not fitting in, or not feeling comfortable with their wanting to prove themselves, like that. So he's a really great character.
That's why I love the movie. I think it's just because he is a really unique character. He doesn't have the he has some of the like trope qualities to him of being like a scientist who's clumsy or something like that, but it's not just that, he has all these quirky layers, and so anyway, it's great.
Yeah, he is a very quirky character. So Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is one of my favorite films ever. It is absolutely hilarious. Like you said about Flint, I love all of the characters. Like, the whole town is just perfect. The setting and the plot is just this nice, neat little package that not every film can hit so perfectly. Mm-hmm. And 10 years ago, I definitely related to it a lot too. And yeah, my family loves watching it. So I'm very excited to talk about it. So for those of you who don't know, even if you've read the book, it's based off of a children's book. It's nothing like the children's book, except for the fact that food falls from the sky.
That's all that you need to have.
That's all you need to know about this movie. Flint Lockwood is this crazy mad scientist inventor type. His father is a fisherman in a town of fishermen. It's this very small little island and off the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. And the whole premise is that they have the sardine factory, so they all catch sardines, and then the whole world realizes that sardines are super gross, and so the whole town is stuck eating all of the sardines that nobody wants. And Flint, being the inventor that he is like, you know what, I am going to make this better. I'm going to make food that everyone will really enjoy and love, and he's really looking for validation, and he wants to make something that's impactful. And so he makes the Flittidsmifer or whatever.
Oh my gosh, it's so brilliant.
He has this acronym for it that doesn't make any sense at all. But the food maker thing.
I don't remember what it stands for. It's like FSLR and MDR, something like that. It doesn't, but I don't remember.
But he makes this machine that turns water into food. It doesn't make any actual scientific sense at all, but that's fine because this whole movie is just making fun of itself. It's wonderful. And he releases it it kind of like rockets off into the atmosphere. And so what happens is it gets stuck out in the clouds, and it produces food from water in the clouds. So food is actually raining from the sky. And so it, of course, is this really wonderful, amazing thing, but also causes some problems. And Flint has to deal with all of that. So my question for you, Josh, is who is your favorite character?
Well, I love Flint just because he's pure, like, you can't not love him. I don't know how you watch the movie or enjoy the movie without like just loving him, because he's so charming and he's such a failure. And I love that about him. So it's hard for me to pick anyone besides him. Mm-hmm. But I really love I can't remember the name of the cop. Earl. He's one of my favorites. Just the way he moves, like so quickly and suddenly, and like just like almost doing karate all the time.
Yes.
I love that. This is so funny to me because he's just way too into it.
Yes, the way his character is introduced is it's gold, because he comes and is like, Flint is up to something, of course, and Earl knows he's a smart one, and he's like, I'm not letting you ruin this day and all of this stuff, and he takes his contact lens and is like, this contact lens represents you. My eye represents my eye. I've got my eye on you. Oh my goodness. And the way it's great writing, but then the way he delivers it is like, oh my goodness. It's Mr. T that voices him. And I'm just like, thank you. That was wonderful.
It's perfect casting for such a ridiculous role to just be over the top. I mean, that's always Mr. T, but like, especially in that role, He kind of plays himself a little bit.
Yes, definitely. It's so wonderful. And then Flint is like, oh, look, is that a jaywalker? And then he goes and tackles the guy.
Oh, man. Really over the top. Yeah. What about you, Kelly? Who's your favorite?
I, too, really love Flint. Like, as soon as the movie started and I rewatched it, and I was like, oh, my goodness, I love Flint. Because, he tells a little story of, when he was in school and he made the spray-on shoes and they stuck to his feet.
And they were on his feet for, like, eternity.
Yes, they're still on his feet to this day. And, yeah, he is a very lovable character. I love that when he is doing anything, he, like, always is saying what he's doing, like pressing buttons and...
Oh yeah, like activating food dispenser.
Right. He's always, narrating what he's doing at that moment. With all those montages, it's so funny. So I love that. But yeah, I would say as well, Earl's son Cal. I love that relationship is there to contrast Flint and his father. Oh, man. The whole town is just so well done. The mayor and baby Brent.
Oh, gosh. Baby Brent.
And even Manny, the cameraman.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a wonderful character. Yeah. Like, he's just kind of there at the beginning. And then by the end, you're like, I love him. I want him to be in every scene ever, please. Right.
Because he hardly says a single line.
No.
Like, barely anything. But he's just like, I think he's supposed to be Hispanic or something. He's like a Hispanic cameraman who like doesn't say much, but does so much with his body. And he's always like, what's the part later when he's like flying through the air, right? They're flying. And
he's like, I'm also a pilot. I'm also a doctor. He's always everything.
Yes.
And then he's like, I'm also something else. And they're like, really? And he's like, no, that was a joke. I'm also a comedian.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness. He's so great. And he's just like calm under pressure. And it's just random. It's like,
again, a contrast to some of the really high energy of Flint and of course his
Sam Sparks.
Yeah, his Sam Sparks, his like partner that he finds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
she's great
brilliant.
too because she's got that same sort of nerdiness that Flint does, but it's so like secretive.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
that.
They both have had similar struggles, but they've reacted to it differently.
Yeah.
Flint continues to try to embrace it, and then Sam tried to hide it, hide the nerdiness.
Yeah. I find that an interesting highlight to real life, because I think that's what we do. That is what we do all the time when something happens. I've had experiences where my wife calls it too much Thomas. You know how like there's like what is that? Debbie Downer and those sort of phrases.
Yeah.
So we invented one called too much Thomas for a behavior that I exert, which is when I get like overly excited about something and I get really passionate and I just start like yelling or like running around or like I do something that's just like might push the boundaries of like social norm.
Right.
That's been something that I have I've struggled with because I've either had to hide it or embrace it. And so I love that those characters are really taking the same perspective on what you actually do in real life and putting it into a character's like, I don't know, being, like exactly why they exist.
Yes, yeah. It's and seeing those two extremes kind of meet and even each other out, and then kind of learning from what they have done in the past and moving forward. So I, of course, like I mentioned before, I love Earl and Cal, and then Flint and his dad. This story is another one of those stories where I just love the father-son relationships. Like, put a father-son relationship, like a good father-son relationship, in any story, and I am there for it.
Yep. And then apparently I will be too. So we'll just have to talk about all those.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So obviously, like, How to Train Your Dragon is like my first and favorite example.
Yep.
But this is also one of those really, really great ones because his dad is such a unique character in and of himself, even though they are, Flint and his dad are in complete opposite sides of the coin. Completely. His dad is doesn't talk a lot, is not super expressive, even physically is bigger instead of, Flint's very small.
Spaghetti Flint.
Flint. Yeah, he's got noodle arms. And so, I love, how they just can't communicate quite right. And his dad is always saying fishing metaphors that he doesn't understand. But they can't communicate at all. And then at the very end, they even put the monkey communicator on to his dad so that he can actually say the words he's trying to say.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's just like, I get that. We all have a hard time communicating with some of our family members. Yeah. And it's like, I wish I had a translator that I could put on some people.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I know what they're trying to say.
Yeah, me too. It's really great. I always like to think, they are so different, but I always like to find like, why are they similar? How are they similar? What did they do, the creators of this, to show, yes, they are indeed related. Like, this is the thing that's similar, and it's particularly hard to find, I think, with this relationship because they're so estranged and you literally don't know the mom, like, at all.
Yeah, barely at all. But at least she appears. A lot of films, they don't even appear. She at least there's that, that history of her supporting him and now his father can't do it the same way she can.
So you just assume that he got a lot of what he is from his mom. Yeah. And because of that, it is nice that they show some. But the thing that I like to find, they are both really quite hard-headed. And that's what I think is the thing that they both have in common. Is like, it's something that they could never express. It's not something that is a very like outward thing. It's just the fact that his dad is like, this is fishing and this is the way that it's supposed to be. And he's like,
Right.
but inventing, like that's the way it's supposed to be, you know?
Yes.
So like they're both really set in their way, in the way that they have seen the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously what they have in common. And I think that's a genetic trait in this case, you know. That's just really something interesting to me.
Yeah, I love that insight. I wouldn't have made that connection, but it's so true. Like that is their similarity. And I just love that, you know, they really build it well and change well. And just funny little things like, his dad's trying to send them the file over the phone. Like, oh my goodness, that scene is so good.
Yeah.
Wait, I drag it? Drag it. What? Drag it?
Click and drag it.
Window? What?
And he's like holding the...
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's taking the mouse and moving over
moving
the screen.
the thing,
like,
yeah, taking the
what?
mouse
Drag
on
it,
the screen,
drag it,
literally.
drag. Anyway, so I love them so much. What are some of your favorite moments in the movie?
Oh, some of my favorite moments? The gummy bear moment is one of my top favorites, and that's with Steve the monkey. And he is ripping. I like particularly when it climaxes because he's like ripping the gummy bear's heads off and like eating them. It's just like you're taken aback for a second, like wow, that got like really violent really quickly.
And it's just like Star Wars, the gummies attack
Yep.
the wing of the ship. It's so good.
I love that.
And that's another really great example of just how tight this script is, because they mention at the very beginning, you know, Flint is taking orders from people, like what do they want to fall from the sky? And Steve, the monkey, says, gummy bears. And Flint is like, no, we know how you get around gummy bears. And they leave it. But they bring it back at the very end.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is just all of that. Like nothing is out of place. There isn't unnecessary stuff. Like everything is there and tied together really well.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts is near the beginning when Flint first tries out the Flididmisfer. He pours the water in and it's about to start, and then the power cuts out. He cuts out the power. He needs more volts, and so when the power cuts out and the lights turn off, the soundtrack in the background cuts out. But
that's right.
It completely cuts out, but then Flint is like going about it, trying to fix it, and he's humming the soundtrack. So he continues the soundtrack going. So it really feels like you were just in his head. Like everything you see is just his perspective of there's this awesome music playing in the background and whatever, and it's like It's just him.
My favorite part about that is that up until then, you thought he was in this really big scientific laboratory that was elaborate and cool, and he was successful, and there's all these lights and technology, and he's like plugging stuff in, and then you realize it's just a curtain.
Yeah.
He pulls that back, and then there's like stuff that he wrote and painted on the walls that just says like power supply, or like the entrance to the elevator is, as Simon says, like machine, just beep boop boop beep boop,
and then he just like it's like all in his imagination. It's so good. And then he comes out of a porta potty. It's like how you get in to his lair. Oh my goodness, it's so great.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's one of the things that really gets me. One of the reasons I think I've always loved this movie more than a lot of animated films is it's really absurd without being like out of this world. Like that's not believable. Like it has all these absurd things that happen, but you're like, it all has a purpose, and it ends up feeling like you are going in and out of his head, and you're like, these obviously it's absurd because food's raining from the sky. Like the premise is absurd, but like every moment, like you said, in the script is tied together, and that's why I think it's a really well-crafted comedy, because, you know, in comedies, you have to have these, like, payoffs. You have to set it up and create your anticipation, and, like, you know, you do your rule of threes with each of these things, or you do your, like, this is the way that it is, and then you break these rules, and it's like they're constantly doing that in a way that plays with your psychology, not just plays with like, this is funny or this is absurd, you know. Some other films, they do that, and that's great. It usually, if they're doing it well, it can work too. But I love that this one, all the absurdity has like connection, and that to me is so rich. You know, it just ties back to absurdism itself as an art form, which, as you know, Kelly, is my favorite.
Yeah, everything there. The payoffs are so well done, because a lot of the times you're not even thinking that something is going to be a payoff, and then it is. Yeah. And you're like, they brought it back. That is brilliant. And like, even just a throw off line, like Flint saying, you know, Sam is talking to him like, oh no, I'm deathly allergic to peanut butter and to peanuts. And he's like, oh yeah, me too. Like, it's just a throw off line about that. And then it comes back because at the very like climax of, we can't go down there, there's peanut brittle. And it just circles back around. It's so well done. Yeah. And I'm very impressed, because there are some films, even recently, where I'm just like, oh my goodness, you didn't need all of this extra stuff. Like, just keep it tight and keep it solid, you know? And this is what this film is, solid. Okay, speaking of comedy, so the two that wrote and directed this are Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Do those names sound familiar to you?
Absolutely not. I'm so terrible with names.
Well, since then, this duo has done awesome things, and of course I shouldn't be surprised by this, because I loved these films to death too. The Lego movies.
Oh man, of course.
It's like their brains are so good. I mean, the Lego movie, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's so totally tight. Connected and absurd in the same way, and has like catchy moments and flavor, but that like has purpose.
Yes, and these films are absurd, like you said, but it's rooted, you care about these characters, and it's rooted in this truth where, you know, you are moved still emotionally, as well as being entertained and surprised.
Yeah. I mean, that's like my life mission, is to be able, I want to create one thing, just one, someday, that could have that caliber of connectedness, where like, it's so funny, and it's drawing all these absurd things, and you're like, you know, like constantly just like layer after layer of like these punches, but they all make sense. Like to create something like that is such a collaborative process, of course, because you can't, it's not really one brain, you know, it takes, even this, it's two people, at least. So I really respect that. What else did they do?
They also did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh man. and
when that is just brilliant.
You're gonna be mad at me because I'm not apparently a true animation fan, because I haven't seen that yet. I know.
Josh Palmer.
I've been trying.
You need to see this movie.
I've been trying, but I also keep forgetting, and there's so many movies to watch, but it's on my list. And
it better be really high up on your list.
Okay.
Everyone who hasn't seen Into the Spider-Verse yet, go do so right now. Just buy the DVD. You won't be disappointed that you own it, or buy it digitally. Just purchase it and own it for life, so you can rewatch it.
Okay, fine.
It's so good. And again, it's so interesting to see Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs more towards the beginning of their, journey, and how far they've come even, and seeing this path that they are on, and having Spider-Verse be this kind of the most recent thing, and just how wonderful. I mean, it takes brains like that to think outside the box, and you'll definitely get a lot of that in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So definitely,
yeah, you do.
So I'm looking forward to see what else they make. They also did Smallfoot, which isn't as popular, but I actually really enjoyed that one too. It's interesting because it's another one of those, they all of them, I'm just realizing this now, have very strong father-son relationships.
Well, I bet that has something to do with the writers and their personal lives, don't you think?
Yes. Oh my goodness. And they are really good at writing it.
Yeah, well, I bet they know it really well.
Yeah, all 4 of those movies, very good father-son relationships. Very, wow, my brain is blown.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I'm just,
funny. I didn't
just
know
thinking
that.
that now, yeah. But Smallfoot is also really funny and really well done. I know I already talked about the music a little bit, kind of. Well, just that one scene with the music. I really love this music. I mean, aside from How to Train Your Dragon, obviously listen to that the most. Yeah. But I listened to the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs soundtrack for the longest time while I still had, I think I still had this tiny little MP3 player.
Oh, yeah. Those ones that are like 128 megabytes or something like that.
Before I even had my iPod. Yeah, what is an iPod even anymore? Who knows?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows what that is. But this music is so good.
Yeah.
I just love music. It. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? Tell me more about where this music has come from, or do you know anything about like who made the music? He's from Devo. You know, whip it into shape. That guy.
Wait, wrote the music?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Mark Mothersbaugh.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
So he's from Devo. He's the guy, you know.
I don't.
Okay, Devo's the group that did Whip It, whip it into shape.
Yeah.
Shape it up. Get it straight. And they wear those like fire hydrant red hats in their music videos, and they're wearing all black, and they're ridiculous.
Okay, well, I've heard of the song. I haven't seen the music video.
Oh, well, it's great.
Okay.
Mark Mothersbaugh, like, he is such an interesting person because after doing Devo, he like went on to do a ton of different art. He did a lot of music, music for films, music in experimental music. There's this really fascinating like art exhibit I saw at the Walker, I think, in Minneapolis, where you walk in and it's like this big machine, and there's all these sheet music things that you can't actually read, but like it's sheet music specifically for that machine only. And you put it in and it picks your song, and then it's like a Rube Goldberg machine sort of. So like things come out and fall out of it and like knock stuff over, and then it makes music. And it's fascinating. And it's like a whole big room, like one machine, and then there's like little ones that you can do. And then they like reset after each time someone plays it. They have to like set it up again and like do different music. It's so cool. And he did a bunch of visual art too. So yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Wow.
So I didn't know he did this music. No wonder. He does really good stuff.
Yeah, it's so good. And wow, what a perfect person for this story too. Like creating something unique and like crazy and fun.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Good. The music is great. Just listen to the soundtrack. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it is really good. Do you have a favorite song besides that moment?
Just like the main theme is really good. I love it. And I love how it feels, it's just more clunky and like feels like you'd be in an inventor's brain.
Yeah, I suppose. That makes it even more sense that it's that Devo guy did it because of like he's kind of got that feel too.
It makes me wonder like what he used for certain sounds.
Oh yeah.
Because I guarantee that there's some normal sounds in that soundtrack.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
very odd. Yeah,
I would not be surprised at all.
Oh man, gotta look into that. So the other thing I want to talk about was just visually that this movie definitely like still sticks to that like cartoony feel, and it's just like the character designs and everything is still very exaggerated, I guess is the word I'm looking for, which I like and obviously fits this very well. And color wise, I wanted to point out that because listening to the commentary too was really fun because they really point out the first part of the movie is very like gray and the colors are like bland. It's always cloudy and like it's just
wow.
And wow, you'd think. And then as soon as the food comes, everything like is brighter and there are so many more colors, and it's like he's turning the town into this colorful magical place.
Yeah, well, it's like the whole thing comes alive because all the world's attention is on this little island now too, because for some reason food's falling from the sky. So that makes sense. In my head, I picture a lot of red throughout the movie. I think because a lot of the food is red, especially like in the clouds too. I think you know they end up using a lot of that as you get later because of the intensity, and red always red equals intensity, and like
and they're in this giant meatball,
right,
and it's red.
No, I think if I just think about the movie, I usually associate the color red with it. Right.
Yeah. I love the first time that the food falls because it's like Flint is like, what is this, mustard? Is the pickle cheese? And then like the cheeseburgers. My favorite part. And my family, we like, you know, do this all the time. You just turn around and go. And just like take a super deep breath. Like, I love that part. Everyone turns around with this giant eyes and like their mouths drop open and I'm just like, oh. Then...
if only you guys could see Kelly's face. Her jaw's just falling off.
Oh my goodness, I love it so much, guys.
Yeah, that's a really good moment. There's a lot of nice moments in the film in general for quotable things and like things that you can use later. I think the spray on shoes was, like I said, we mentioned it earlier. That's always a joke that I've used before. Because I remember when I must have been, you know, as a teenager when I saw it. So it was a couple years after that at some point. I dressed up as him for Halloween, and instead of wearing shoes, I just painted my feet and I called them spray-on shoes. And so like there's a lot of those moments. There's like iconic things like, that are really, really funny out of context.
Yes, the untied shoelaces epidemic.
Yeah,
is what he's.
Yeah,
and that's another. I could go on and on. I could. Honestly, it would be really interesting to dissect this script because that's another thing. At the very beginning, they introduce Flint with these spray-on shoes, and that is what saves them at the very end of the movie. Yep. It's just like a funny thing, and then you realize he's older and he still has the shoes on, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And then at the end, it's like, this is what saves the day, is the spray-on shoes. And you're like, well done. Of course. Well done.
Yeah. Do you have other, like, what are quotes that you really like? Do you have any that you remember?
You know, often we just quote Steve's lines. And we just go, yellow. Or Steve.
Can.
Yes. Exactly.
I have an Uncle Steve. And so anytime I see him, I guess now that I think about it, I think I do go, Steve. Just to greet him.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I think the moments that I really like quoting that I remember now. My sisters actually, we would do Baby Brent's thing where he would turn around and go, uh-oh. We would do that. It's so stupid. It's so funny.
Yes. Baby Brent is a good character too.
Let's talk about Brent because I found him so repulsive. And that's probably the point.
Yes.
But like you end up, it's like because he's like a bully, you know.
Yeah. That stereotypical like having everything like that Flint wants.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got this success and this quote fame, and that he's just clinging to like for so far too long.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really clever thing that they wrote in is because he also, you know, wins. You win. How do I say this?
He wins over your heart.
Yeah, he wins over your heart by the end of it. Yeah, and I think that this movie faces a challenge because it doesn't really give you characters that are antagonists. You know, there are not a lot of characters that are bad or that are like, you know, the villains or anything like that. The only villain quote is the machine itself, and it has character. Like there is some aspects of it that are the characteristic, but there aren't, you know, other antagonists. And to me, Brent was, you know, what I ended up associating as that. And then when he wins your heart over by the end, you're like so satisfied because it's like, oh, okay, like everything is better. I now like baby Brent.
Right. He like, he realizes that he isn't anything without the sardines and stuff. And so he is trying to like recreate himself.
Yeah, there's so much self-actualization happening with him, which is just really weird and interesting.
Yeah, and even with the mayor who, makes poor choices, it's like he kind of is an antagonist too, but so is Flint. Like, it's just like, again, great script. They say from the very beginning, they introduce all the characters. They introduce what all the characters want and what they care about. The mayor wants to be a mayor of a big, successful town.
That's true. Yeah, he's got that antagonism too.
And Brent wants to keep the fame, and Flint wants to be, a remarkable scientist and wants, affirmation, and Sam wants to be a weather girl. Like, everyone has a thing that they want, and Earl just wants to take care of his son. So it's like, and all those characters and all their wants combine and mesh into this really great story that is just so good.
Yeah. Well, I think this movie has a pretty wide appeal for that reason. There's all these different values and motivations, and just like in life, I keep always going back to that. Movies that are really good are just like life in core basic ways, but everything else is different.
Yes. Oh dear. Yeah. Food isn't going to fall from the sky.
No.
If you could ask Flint to make a food fall from the sky, what food would you want to fall from the sky?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if I were to ask for food to fall from the sky, I would say maybe that it would rain lemonade.
Ooh.
I love lemonade.
Yeah.
And if it were to, and that's a little bit literal, because it's like a liquid, so it's a little bit more like rain.
Right.
But I'd also maybe say if it could rain Doritos.
Doritos. Do you think that would be dangerous?
Super dangerous. Yeah.
Get pierced by Doritos.
Oh, it'd be terrible, but I would love it. My favorite part would be like, there'd be just piles and piles of Doritos, and you could go run and just crunch and crunch and crunch.
Like leaves?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What kind of Doritos?
Nacho cheese.
The original. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. I was going to say burritos because I like burritos.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like that would be dangerous too.
Well, I mean, if we're honest, like, all the foods would be dangerous. Yes. Watermelons, come on.
Oh my goodness, yeah. But maybe like Poffergies, those little pancakes.
Ooh.
Because those are A, delicious, and B, would not be that harmful, I don't think. Yeah, they're small and they're padded, they're squishy.
Yeah. Well, then if I was to go that route, I might say like marshmallows. Because I love marshmallows, and I think that it's kind of like snow,
Yeah.
And then you have like this winter wonderland of marshmallow.
Oh,
and you could like, pack, because if you work it enough, it becomes taffy, and then you could like create marshmallow snowmen.
Yeah.
And it'd be disgusting, but it would be so awesome.
Just like in the movie, he makes ice cream fall like snow.
Yeah.
That's like every kid's dream.
Yeah.
I want ice cream like just everywhere to sled in ice cream.
Oh my gosh, that would be a dream.
It's so funny.
That's a great question. I like that question.
What food?
I think I might use that just like in daily life.
Yeah.
If I'll just like when I'm meeting somebody or whatever, be like, so if food could fall from the sky, what would you choose it to be? Yes,
that's everyone's new get to know you question. Make sure to use it and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, comment on what you would do.
Yeah, what would you want falling from the sky?
Well, we haven't talked about is Sam and Flint.
Sam and Flint.
Yes. I particularly want to talk more about Sam. Just in general. It doesn't have to be Sam and Flint. We could just talk about Sam because I think that she's one of those characters that really has a big change that you don't notice. We mentioned it earlier, with her like secret of nerdiness. Mm-hmm. But what do you think of this reveal of her character and like how she plays into the movie in general?
Well, I think that she isn't just, and some movies do this, she isn't just the you won the prize, you're the hero, you get a girl.
Right.
Because she's very integral to the plot.
Right.
Because she actually knows what's going on and is very smart and is going like, this is, something is wrong with the weather, you need to fix it. Like, we need to fix this. And is also there, to help, bring Flint back from his wild fantasies of being this great, hero and popular and famous and whatever. I also think that it's interesting because when she first meets Flint, they obviously have a connection, but she is afraid of herself, afraid of being who she really is and being nerdy. And then also, I think she's a little bit, because she judges herself, she's also judging Flint in the same way. And just the fact that like she opens up to Flint about it, which is hilarious the way they do it.
Yeah.
But also, she's very strong because she takes it back immediately. She's like, oh yeah, this is me. And Flint actually likes that about me. Like, he likes me more this way. And from then on, she continues, they visually represent that with her glasses and her scrunchie.
Right.
And that continues throughout the rest of the story because she has accepted it and continues to do it, even with backlash from like the Weather Channel and other things. She's like, no, there's something more important going on, and this is who I am, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
I don't have anything deeper than that. That's really good.
I loved Sam growing up. I think she was like a great character to watch as a young girl.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because she, like you said, she doesn't have that, like, oh, you win, here's the lady. She has so much more than that. And she's really strong and ends up, even though she's set up as like having fear and like hiding stuff, that's because that's, again, real life. People do that all the time. And so she starts off that way, and then when you realize she's actually being really strong and confident, it's a good role model to be setting for women anywhere and of any age who watch this. So
go Sam Sparks. Also, fun fact, with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were working on a series called Clone High in 2002. Guess who their intern was?
Sam Sparks.
Sam Sparks. That's where they got the name. Their actual intern.
Oh, funny.
Turns into the intern of this film.
Oh, I bet she's very proud of that fact.
Yeah, I wonder what she looks like. She probably doesn't look anything like the movie, but
probably not.
But what a fun name, Sam Sparks.
Yeah, it's a great name, and it's perfect for the character. So
very. Sense. That kind of wraps up Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but well, we know you aren't watching Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but are you watching anything else recently?
Yeah, I'm not watching that. Well, I have been watching Steven Universe. I just got to the last season. I'm on the last season now.
You're on the last season?
Whatever is 6 or 5 or
5. It's season 5.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, guys.
Yeah. So
I'm freaking out.
I can't talk about it on this episode. I know that you've talked about it elsewhere. So
just tell me what episode you're on, because I genuinely want to know.
The first episode.
The very first episode of season 5.
Season 5, yeah.
Oh man, you are in for a roller coaster ride.
I already have
been. I know you have. Oh man, guys, I'm just so jealous of everyone who gets to watch this in its entirety without 8 months of a hiatus. And I'm also very excited when all of my friends are watching it for the first time, like Josh is. So yay! I'm so excited for you. I really want to hear it. Just like text me all of the crazy stuff that you're witnessing, and when certain things are shown and revealed, and I just want to know everything.
Yes. Okay, I will. I will do that.
Okay.
I've also been watching. I've been kind of testing the waters of some Adult Swim cartoons that I've never seen, like Venture Brothers. Have you watched that at all?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
Do you like it?
Well, I didn't even finish the first episode. I fell asleep. So,
Is that because of the episode or because you were tired?
Well, it was 2 a.m., I think. So,
yeah.
My fault. But, it was funny because, it's really different. I don't watch a lot of Adult Swim cartoons. I don't generally, I don't know, I just don't. And so it was interesting seeing that. And I was listening to someone else's podcast who had talked about it. It was that animation one that you told me about.
There are many.
It's like short. It's like a miniseries led by a woman.
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness, this is the best podcast, guys. I just have to remember what it's called. Everyone should listen to it. Yeah. It's like the story of animation.
Yeah, it is.
Something.
Shoot, we gotta look it up.
It's so good. This woman does all this research and has all these interviews. She interviews Rebecca Sugar and all these other crazy wonderful people and tells about the history of animation and all these really interesting facts about voice acting and just it's so good. It's so good. Everyone who's listening to this podcast should be listening to that podcast.
Seriously.
You will like it. I promise.
It's probably even better than our podcast.
I mean, we're okay, but she's professional level.
She's the best.
Not that we aren't professional over here.
No.
Yeah, we just don't do any actual research.
Yeah, she did her research, that's for sure.
Oh dear. Oh, it's called. Okay, so the one that we were originally talking about is called Drawn: The Story of Animation.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Such a good podcast.
Amazing.
Go listen to it after you listen to us.
Yeah, because it just covers everything. If you don't know the history of animation as a form and a style and all this, that it's really, really cool to learn about that.
Fascinating. Yeah. I love it. And the way she delivers everything is great too. Well,
what about you? Are you listening or watching anything else?
Oh yeah, I'm always watching something. Tangled the series just wrapped up its second season and we're all in tears. Per usual. Oh goodness. Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2 just started airing again, and wow, is it amazing like always, and I can't get over it. It's so good. It's one of those shows that I never thought I would like, but eventually I tried again, and I binged it, and now that I'm caught up, this is my first time watching it weekly, so it's really hard to wait a week for every episode. It's so hard, guys. Oh. And then probably what I'm most excited about is Fruits Basket.
Fruits Basket?
Fruits Basket.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that one.
Well, good news for you because I have a whole podcast episode about.
Oh, you do? Oh, Fruits.
Are you listening to our own show?
Maybe didn't watch that one. I listened to. I'm gonna go.
Fruits Basket was originally a 2001 anime. It is a slice of life dramedy, I guess. It's a drama, but it has a ton of comedy over it. It's really nostalgic for a lot of anime fans. It got a reboot, which is incredibly rare. Incredibly rare for anime. Anime is, we're making this show to boost sales for the manga. That's what anime is. And for a lot of studios. And the fact that the manga is completed, it is over already. And that we get not only a new series, but the same English voice cast.
Wow.
And the English dubbed is coming out at the same time as the Japanese, which is insane in my brain. I'm still like, wow, this is incredible. What a gift. So, thoroughly enjoying it. And I'm excited to see that the first series didn't go through the whole manga. And I'm so excited that this one will go through the entire story, so we get the complete story. It's just so wonderful. Just with any fandom, when you get to see these characters come back, it's just such a joy. So I'm really enjoying that.
Okay, well, that's cool.
So anyway, you guys let us know what you're watching. We love, recommendations and to hear about what you're watching.
If you're still waiting for us to do an episode on Hilda, because that's what I mentioned last time I was here. It will happen eventually, right,
For
Kelly?
sure.
Please,
yes.
please.
I'll put it on my list. Oh, dear. Okay, so, email us at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. Or we're on Instagram, Fanimated Podcast. Yo.
Hashtag animation.
That's a pretty big hashtag, dude. Hashtag Fanimated.
Okay, that's probably
There
better.
we go. Yeah. All right. Well, folks, we'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Fanimated Podcast. You can also email us at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. The art for this podcast is done by me, Kelly Anderson. You can find me on Instagram at Candor Draw. The music is provided by the folks at Purple Planet, and a huge thank you to Josh Palmer for joining me today. We have a very exciting announcement coming soon, so stay tuned and stay animated.
Have you watched or you listened to Overly Animated?
I have Overly Animated. They have specific ones for specific shows. I like them.